Hey, what's happening? Before we jump into the show, I wanted to see if you had any music on a hard drive. You have a band, you have a project, and you want to self-release your own music. Well, there's an easy way to do it. You can go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate and go get your music up on all the streamers. You keep 100% of your royalties, and you can get 30% off by using this code. It's a great, easy way to get your music up on the streamers and share it with your fans, your friends, your family, your mom, your dog, everybody. Everyone wants to hear it. But go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate, HYPHENATE, and send me the link. I want to hear it too. Send your mom the link. Send your dog the link. They all want to hear it too. We'd like to thank our sponsor, iZotope, the absolute leaders in intuitively designed plugins for audio restoration, mixing, and mastering. At iZotope.com, you'll find a plethora of tools and suites that will enhance your audio production, whether it's voice, video, podcast, or a full production recording session. Check out the industry-standard audio repair tool, RX11, or the multi-tool mixer plugin, Neutron 5, or the powerful Ozone 11 mastering suite, plus tons more. Go to iZotope.com and use the code FRET10 at checkout for 10% off. That's FRET10 to get 10% off at checkout. And again, the website is iZotope.com, IZOTOPE.com.
I just try to come back, not in a passive way, but the path of least resistance in that do what's intuitive to you, and through all the steps, if you like what you're doing through all the steps, things aren't going to feel as harsh coming down on you. I don't know. I mean, it's an attitude I'm trying to have with things.
What's happening, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning into Hyphenate with me, your host, Randy Randall. This is our show for Thursday, March 11th, 2025. Today, my guest is a very special friend, Miss Sophie Weil. Weil. I feel like that's the more German pronunciation, Weil, but I just mostly call her Sophie. We did some shows with her on our last tour, and it's Sophie Psycho Friend. So much fun. It was great to see her play and perform every night, and so much fun to spend more time with her. She has a new record coming out on my partner Dean Spunt's label, Post Present Medium Records, PPM Records. Go look it up. The record just came out last week. It's incredible. She'll be playing some shows, but you should really go listen to the record and then buy the record. And then, if she's in your area, go see her play. She is an incredible artist, and you'll hear our conversation here coming up in just a minute. I hope everybody's doing good. That was the funny thing. Yeah, with Sophie on tour there. I'm so much in the dad brain. When we were on tour, right before we left, for the 6 months before we left on that tour, my kids had been watching Captain Underpants, and there was these two characters on there called Sophie, and they always said it. They had the voice actor who did it, or however they portrayed on the thing, was had a very kind of valley accent, and that's not how Sophie talks at all. But every time it was just stuck in my head. If this happens to you when you're just endlessly watching the same kids cartoons over and over again, I just had the voice of Sophie, and she has this big hair. The character design has a lot of big red hair on top of her head, and my hair, Sophie. There's Sophie 1 and Sophie 2. And so I just always kept calling her that on the tour, Sophie. Anyway, that's what I remember. And a lot of really good shows. And it was a lot of fun, but it's hard for me to think of Sophie without calling her Sophie. Great record out now on Post Present Medium. If you like music, you should go listen to it. Where are we at? Did I say we were in March 11th? This is September 11th. I don't even remember what I said. I'm definitely feeling out of time, out of space. It's still hot here in Los Angeles. Things should be cooling off more soon. Hopefully it's not 100 degrees by Thanksgiving. We'll see what happens. Let's see if we can get through this. It usually goes, I think the seasons in Los Angeles are like summer, hot, and then fall's fire season. And then spring, you get like 3 or 4 days of rain, and then you're back into hot. So it's kind of where we've been. It's hard to complain, but I still find a way to do it. I try not to. I try to live in gratitude and abundance. I talk a lot about that with our conversation with Sophie. She's very insightful, very intuitive and instinctual. And it was really a pleasure. It was really like, one of those kind of like conversations I'm always happy to have. And I feel like I don't have them enough, but where you can just kind of chat with somebody about, the sort of higher order of things that we are as magical beings, spiritual beings on this planet, and sort of what is it all about, and just living life as a creative. I mean, I'm struggling. I'm sure a lot of people are out there struggling, but just that creative work-life balance, or just any kind of work, I think unemployment is gnarly, in such a big way that, it's embarrassing to talk about, or in those kind of ways. So you just feel like, I think there was a job. There was supposed to be a job. Wasn't there a job here? No, there's nothing here. Really just hard things. And I know a lot of people are out there feeling the same sort of way. So this conversation definitely drops into that, and I think really kind of hits on that hyphenate idea of, maintaining your creative passion while also pursuing, jobs that are not soul crushing, or jobs that are somehow provide, money. But you can still balance that ability to have fun and still pursue that higher order, motivation you have as a creative person, and still be creative, but also still honor those creative intentions and positive social commitments that you have within yourself, and survive. Try to make a surviving path forward for life. So we get into it definitely in this episode. And yeah, remember to send this to your friends. If you like it, you can also write me at Randy S. Randall on the socials, and you can write the whole show if you want to write a long diatribe, or send me music, which I always love to hear, new music. You can write hyphenate halftime at gmail.com. And I want to hear from you. And also send this to all your friends. Let them know is a good show, and go out and listen to some Psycho Friends, some Sophie records, and let her know that you heard it here. And go bug Dean over on Post Present Medium Records. He'd love to hear from you too. Tell him I sent you. Sophie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you. I feel like it's been a minute. We did some tour dates, gosh, a few years back now.
I know, about like almost 3 years.
Whoa, time goes by so fast.
I know. It's weird.
Yeah. But how are you doing? What are you working on right now? You got a new record coming out.
Yeah, I'm working on the rollout of the record that's coming out in about a month. So it feels good to start getting that stuff out there. It's been in the works.
This will probably be out when the record's out.
Cool.
So everyone can go listen to the record right now.
Yeah.
It's exciting. Tell me about this record.
So this record, it's called Dizzy Magic, and on Post Present Medium. Mm-hmm. It's I recorded it in the studio about April 2024. It's kind of, I will say, it's the first studio record, and it's also the first record with a full band on a few songs, which was exciting. And also featuring some Henry Barnes Amps for Christ on a few songs.
Amazing.
So, I mean, I think this is my 4th LP, and it was, I'm really happy with it. I'm really excited to share it. It's definitely the most, it's the next level of psycho friend music. And also like just, I think, as time goes on, as like I would hope, but isn't always expected, is that it's just, I'm understanding my songwriting more and more. So it was it was a interesting and long process of making these songs, but yeah, well, I'm happy with how they turned out.
Tell me about the studio experience. What was that in the past? You've self-recorded, and
well, the two other PPM records, Robbie and Evan engineered them, and then we would mix them together. But in like different spaces, like Fontanelle was recorded in my garage, and then the Code was recorded at an artist I work for, Sam Falls, his old studio. He was moving out of there, and he was like, you can use this if you want, like in the time between, which was amazing. But it's like, and both of those records have a lot of the character of those spaces in them. Like the first one, I lived in Frogtown, like right by the freeway, and we actually just like put a contact mic on the garage door, so there's like the sound of that is like embedded in the sound of that record. The freeway, like between the freeway and the river, sort of, not that you can hear the river, but just there's some environmental sounds. And then Sam's studio was like a concrete floor warehouse space in Boyle Heights with a taco truck right outside. It was like there's just a lot of X factors of sound happening in there, which made for like a really cool guitar sound and like chamber of environment. But
that's a big bouncy room.
Yeah. And it ended up being great and like captured what we wanted to. But I think I was just like ready to not worry about that stuff for this one. And I had a really particular vision for how it should sound, I think. And I just didn't really think of it as an option before. So I kind of pooled my resources into like focusing on what the recording would be like. And I'm happy with how I did that. And even though like I'm very DIY, so it's like being in the studio for 5 days was kind of like the most incredible experience for me, because it's like I just could focus, and that's just not a thing I can always like afford for the time to do that sort of thing. So it was like really nice for me. And like, it expands my idea of the possibility of what things can be in the future. So
that's so cool. What studio were you at? I just want to geek out.
At Tropico in Glendale.
Cool.
Yeah. And it's a friend of mine and his brother, who I'm also friends with. It's their studio, but Robbie was the engineer. Robert Cody was the engineer for this one. And, I've worked with him on that, and we play music together. So it is very easy going, like comfortable for me to be with him.
But that must have made it part of expanding the band also, like a kind of comfort step or an evolution in the sound. Like what were some of your thoughts going into that, going from solo to incorporating a band on the record?
I'm so reluctant to like have other people involved sometimes with Psycho Friend because it's like I feel so like in control of what's happening. But I was like pretty or I had this sort of obsession with Elliott Smith's Either Or in with the idea of how this record would sound. And then again, I worked with people, which is Evan Burrows, my partner, played drums, and my really good friend Hank Doyle played bass on it. And so again, people that I was just like really comfortable with directing and like getting the feeling of what I was getting at. And also because I'm really self-taught, I don't fully know music language. I need people that like understand where I'm coming from and like it's like I need the people that are working with me to understand the full history kind of what I've been doing to like plug in with me. And I think that could also change in the future, but like there's definitely with like Hank, he plays in a lot of metal bands. So it's like I don't come from a metal background, but it's like I kind of have a lot of stoner metal sensibilities in my music and like just heaviness and like patience in a way that maybe like a music school person wouldn't like be able to like plug into that right away without some like understanding of that history or something. And then of course like Evan, we play music together and he's my partner, but he also like comes from a really similar DIY background as me. So he like understands like kind of the whole universe of influences and like things I'm pulling from.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge advantage or shorthand with working with outside musicians of just kind of that, you know what the record collections are, you know what where their obsessions are, or even just how they play as musicians, and you can kind of go with that. I've noticed in my years of playing with other people that I'm always surprised that there is not really like an official language for music. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think it's so much of it at the biggest heights to the lowest to just beginners to professionals. It's everybody just is doing the same thing. They're just pulling on history. And if you have a shared history, then you can communicate. If you don't, it's you know what I mean? You just kind of go down to numbers or letters, okay, we're in this key, we're playing it this many times. You go, okay, but you got to have the feel, or else you don't really have you're not going to have the gig for very long. You have to know, you have to know the reference, or at least be able to like translate a reference real quick into the language.
Totally.
Oh man, that's so fun. I can't wait to hear the record. And so, and then you said you've worked with the artist Sam Falls. What have been some of your other gigs, or what else are you doing? It's kind of as part of the show, the Hyphenate, talking about everything else we do while we're not making our own art, or in between those days. How was that?
Exactly. My day job kind of happened. Well, I went to art school for visual art, and but I moved to LA when I was 25, about 10 years ago. And kind of when I moved here, I fell into working for an artist who became a friend of mine, but as like an artist assistant. And I think I'm from Minneapolis, and coming from the Midwest, there aren't a lot of working artists in like smaller cities. So the idea of that kind of job wasn't really a possibility for me. And so when I moved here and was kind of like, I worked in a coffee shop for a very short time, and just like kind of hit the ground here, like looking for jobs. I met up with this person, Patrick Walsh, who kind of just was like, sure, like come to the studio, like I need some help with these things, like little tasks and like cutting certain things or like cleaning up paintings and stuff like that. And I kind of was confused and didn't know that that would be a job. And then he had me back, luckily. And it kind of continued, and I got other jobs mainly through word of mouth, people here. And now I work for, I still work for Sam Paul's just a little bit, like one day a week. And then I'm a studio manager for a painter named Spencer Lewis. And yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, I come from a visual art background, like mainly until I didn't play music, until I was about 19. But was like a painter and drawer, and then in college was doing more like sculpture and installation and things like that. And then when I graduated, I really just kind of like dove into making music. And then when I moved here, it's like the lack of space and resource of materials and like sort of like kind of a lot of different factors that I could get into, but like it kind of like made the decision for me to just like focus on music. But working for artists, I think, is sort of a gift that I can like make things, but they're not mine. And because I'm not pursuing a visual art career, I like don't have any baggage or resentment for like helping somebody else. I think because I'm really I feel very like free and open in those environments, and like I have no agenda, like no career agenda in that way. So it's sort of like made it more of a positive thing instead of, which I totally understand why people that graduate and then they get these artist assistant jobs and they feel sort of like bogged down by like working on other people's artwork. And I've been really lucky to work for people that are really kind and not I don't know. I mean,
the monsters
I've just heard horror
world,
stories. Yeah. So I feel really lucky that I've been around people that are good people.
It's so interesting, you know. You bring up a lot in that kind of space, you know, because it's hard. I mean, any creative job is, especially as we enter into this sort of next round of American fascist, you know, political hellscape. The creative jobs and employment and just in general is entered a new challenge on top of a million other things that have gotten really difficult, but you know, selfishly related to our own creative interests. It's just it's hard and strange, and the funding and all of these other kinds of things, and just sort of, and you know, so much of the arts follows other financial trends because it's sort of where the money comes from. But
Yep.
But I guess in the terms of, you know, making your own art while assisting other people, and I think it's such a good way of putting it, like having that clarity of purpose and role within an organization, you know, or within a project. Like, this is what I do. I'm coming here. This isn't, I don't need to say, it's not a personal statement, as it's an employment statement. Like, I could be very fortunate to be paid money to work on art, even if it's not my art. It still counts in a way of like, we're in the same sphere.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially if it's like for people that, even if it's like nothing like I would make, if it's for people that are nice people, essentially, that aren't like harmful. And I've also like there's so many different kinds of situations for this, but I've mostly worked in like really small teams where it's just like one or two people in the studio, and it's just more, I mean, I think it's more personal, but also just like, it's not necessarily a factory situation. So it feels nice. And I think I may have taken for granted that I am like, I mean, I do a lot of computer stuff for my job, but I get to like get into things and be messy. And that's like just the kind of person I am. Like I need to be doing stuff like that. And like also I work really well. This is also multi-hyphenate, but I work really well, like having a lot of things going on at once because I like can plug in a bunch of different ways. And even though sometimes I'm like, I'm doing too many things and I feel crazy, but I just like, it like works better for my brain. And I think of that with music stuff, in the same way, like being in multiple projects at once, like my schedule gets like really booked up in a way, but I do think inertia and like building material is like really inspiring for me. So it's like if I'm doing Psycho Friend, that's like one thing that will also like help working on Pink Trash Can. And then like I've been making music with my friends Nikki and Sarah. It's called My Generation. We have one song out now.
Nice. Congratulations.
But we are like, it's like they all feed into each other. And if I in the creative brain space, it is just helpful for me. It like just keeps me engaged.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. The other thing I related to in what you're saying is, and I've thought about this a little bit with just my own projects versus band projects or doing work for other people. I find myself, my motivations within my own art or within my own music are pretty straightforward in the feeling of like, I created this, that's great. And then there's a record that needs to be sold or needs to be promoted or all these other things. And I'm just like, but I made it. That's all I wanted to do. I was really only looking to make that. And I know consciously the game that there is to play and all these things, but it's frustrating and it can be, humbling and ego strategy. Like, well, oh sure, I'll go do anything to promote the record. And you're like, yeah, but no one's asking you to promote the record. So then you have to think of your own. Now I'm taking on this whole other job of being this full-time promoter or like Ringling Brothers kind of circus person. And then it's like, but all I wanted to do was make the record. Now I find myself wasting time, or it feels like a waste of time because I'm just like, I don't even know if anybody wants to write about it. I made the record. I'll do the traditional promo.
Yeah.
And if that's all there is, then I'll say I'm done and I did it. And I don't feel like it's a failure until then there's a talk with a record label or with a promoter or someone else. Like, wow, we really thought it was going to sell more. Or it was going to do this. And you're like, I just wanted to make the record. I already succeeded. I don't know what happens. Everything after that is sort of, I'm not standing
bonus or
it's like, I don't feel like I'm standing in the way. I'm not preventing people from promoting it, but I also don't need a large circus around this thing because I made it and that was it. But then I can see the circus. I can be the circus person for other people's projects. Like, oh, what you should do is X, Y, Z. And that could, but because I don't have any personal creative gain in it or any messaging or any kind of like, sense of ownership creatively of that thing. But when it's your own creative ownership, I just feel I guess it doesn't feel small to me. It's like, it's an accomplishment. I made a fucking record. That was huge. But comparatively to the larger commercial machine, I'm like, but what if we didn't do all those things? I don't really want to, I mean, what if we kept it smaller? And then it's like, oh, well, that's not going to work. I'm like, but it kind of didn't already work. I already made the record. That was all I really wanted to do. So it's hard.
Yeah, I think I know this will be coming out later, but I also am in like that funny time or something where it is like the packaging and like all this stuff and like designing a t-shirt and making the music videos and all this stuff that's kind of like the thing I have to do right now, which I like actually do really enjoy.
I like those.
Getting into all that.
Those are kind
stuff.
of fun. Yeah, those are fun extracurriculars that come around the thing. They're still creative choices.
Yeah, it's all creative stuff, but it's like has a functionality for like the promotion. But I do think I've like come to like really like those things as like a world builder of like all the work I did for these 3 years leading up to it, essentially. But
those are fun.
is,
I guess I'm thinking more of like collecting email lists, creating a chimp mail server or some shit like that. Like, I don't know. No, but I don't want to collect people's email addresses or looking at the websites that do that stuff for you and populate it and run analytics on your post and who did well with what. And well, shouldn't we be servicing more of this market? And like, no, that I have no patience for within my own work, but I can understand it in regards to other people. Like, well, if you're going to try to sell a widgets would be really cool if they were, you know, if you marketed them and put a funny thing and did a thing, you know, I can figure out the sales marketing lingo on someone else's bullshit that I don't give a fuck about. But when it's my own, I'm like, no, don't do it. Don't touch it.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's exactly fine as it is.
Yeah.
And then
you don't really.
Yeah. If no one likes it, like, well, fuck them. I didn't make it for them anyway. I don't give a shit. It's because it doesn't feel like a commercial process. It was never meant to be a commercial. I don't know.
No,
thing.
And you don't want it to poison the well of all the creative stuff either.
Right, right. If it comes from the same person, I don't know. Yeah, how you can serve both of those goals within the same sort of physical vessel or mental, the mental person. It's just, anyway, I know that's a different world, but I guess I like the idea of being, you know, in creative conversation with people for a job. It sounds cool.
Yeah, no, it's like, I'm always saying, like, I really do like all of the things that I do. My main gripe is the idea of time. And my time is like I'm fighting with time constantly and trying to like expand.
Oh yeah, I can relate to that.
But it's like I don't know yet how to do that, but I'm working on it. Yeah, and like, I mean, there's a lot of things that have fed into the music of other things I do too. Like, I don't do this as a job, but I think there was a big part of this record that was influenced by doing some doula work for friends of mine. And like, I took a course in training to be a doula during COVID, but then kind of was like, I can't pursue this right now, and I don't really want to pursue it as a business even, but it's interesting to me.
And this is kind of this is doula, like for birthing.
Birth.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
so interesting.
Yeah.
It's I mean, it's one of those sort of in between sort of Eastern Western sort of philosophies, I suppose, right? In the larger medical practice or community as people go through those things. Tell me a little bit about it and how you came to it, or what's your experience?
Well, I think I first was really like, it piqued my interest in like the first Trump era. I sort of was like drawn into like thinking about women's health and also taking health into your own hands and just like exploring it. And I just sort of like started to understand what that was to be a doula. I didn't really know what that was at all. And then kind of like, again, didn't think about it for a while. And then I signed up for a course before COVID that like got canceled because of the pandemic. And then I found another online course. I was like, you know, I still really want to do this and I'm really curious about it. And I think it's just something that could be interesting for me. And so I did the course and it was like, I learned a lot in that, but it was such a weird time to be doing it because there was no like hands-on experience you could do because it was quarantine. And I ended up being able to be a postpartum doula for a friend of mine who's also a musician in LA, but which was like I just kind of but like my on like hands-on experience with people is what has been like my main education, I realized. But even that, which was sort of like abstract, post-birth, going over to her house with masks, talking with her like how things were going physically, cooking for her, like kind of just like normalizing what the experience was and being like comforting, and like also because she couldn't see anybody else, and her husband was there, but because she like wasn't able to see anyone else and her family doesn't live here, I think it was like hugely beneficial for both of us to like just be around each other.
Yeah.
And like kind of just connect in that weird liminal time of post birth and pre, like really like any other thing in life. It's just a weird time. And so that was really important. But then I finished my coursework and did like these other classes, but then it was like post COVID time, and I was like, it's just everything's too crazy. I can't like focus on this now. I'm like, again, gonna put it behind me. And then in 2023, these friends of mine were like, we want you to be our doula. And I was like, what? I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, it's not, I did it and it's interesting, but I'm not professionally doing this thing.
And I'm just kind of curious with the classification of doula versus midwife. I mean, is it
midwife is they're like a medical certified person that's gone to essentially like nursing school, but midwifery school, and they like doula. It can be that. It can be like alongside a midwife. It can be a lot of different things, but it's more like holistically all-encompassing, like
I see,
emotional and physical. And it can be, people specialize in different parts of the pregnancy and post-pregnancy. But so there's different things. But these friends of mine, they were doing a home birth. They had a midwife, so I felt really comfortable being their doula because I knew there was going to be a medical professional there as well.
Yeah, that's always good. To at least have eyes on it, or at least advising, because
and totally. And midwives, they often come in at the like final hour, not like the exact hour, but like they don't come during the beginning, and they're more like regimented at their times. So like my friend, she went into labor, or her water broke at 5 a.m. And then I like, once she started having regular contractions, I went over, and then the midwife came over a few hours later, and then we were all there for the birth.
Wow. How special. I mean,
so special.
Yeah.
So amazing.
Sorry, not to interrupt. I was just trying, before we went too far, but I can't imagine having a child, especially in those early parts of 2000 and 2021 when, COVID pre vaccine and pre, there was what a difficult time that would be. Our youngest son was born in June of 2019. So he was still really little, but we had all the hospital, all the big public stuff done. And then, so he was about 8 months, and turned 1 while everything was pretty isolated. And we had our hands full just at that, he was already here, but it was a lot, but to have to then go, I remember my wife and I talking about it even at the time and just being like, oh my God, because we had some friends who were going through that, who had pregnancies just after ours. And like, wow, what a tough time it is, because there are so many people just in any hospital situation. But
Yeah,
they're just in
definitely.
any situation. Every childbirth is so unique, and every situation is so
Yeah.
different. And from just from being a dad now for the last little over a decade, you meet so many other parents and talk to them, and everybody's story is unique. I've never really heard any two of the same stories, and I've just learned to just be like, oh yeah, there's no generalities. Every kid's different, every parent's different, every situation's different, and it's wild. I mean, all the support you can get is kind of how I always feel. Like whatever you're comfortable with, like there's more support you need doulas, midwives, doctors, shamans, get everybody in there. Moms, stepmoms, everybody, they'll guy your third grade teacher, get them in there. If you're comfortable and that's what feels right for you, that's what you should do. Don't tell everybody tell you what to do. We went to all kinds of classes and it's incredible.
No, it
so
was
personal.
really awesome. Yeah, it was so special. And like her birth happened later, like January 2024 was that birth, but it was like, it felt really, I was like talking to my friend afterwards, like, did you want to be alone at all? And she was like, no, I wanted you all there. Like I wanted everyone there. It felt really good to have everyone there. And
that's not everyone's experience. Everyone's experiences are different, but I could understand that too, of like, you need the people. There's a lot of hands, a lot of stuff that needs to just kind of happen, and you're in the middle of it and you don't always know.
Yeah. And then I've been a doula for a couple other friends since, completely different birthing situations. But I talk about this one because I think it was her like experience and all that sort of was some influence on this new record too, especially. But
that's amazing.
Just like it was part like of the language of things that were happening, and like I don't always write songs like this happened. I'm writing a song about it, but there is a song that is like this happened in a way, and some other things that leaked into it. But yeah, it was just very interesting, very inspirational. I mean, I'm not currently being anyone's doula, but I'm hoping after this record comes out and some time passes that I get into it again too, because I just think it's a cool way of like, it feels very in like kind of the way I am interested in like music community, just like the community of people. And just kind of togetherness in a different way. But
I feel you. I mean, it seems like it's, it's a great service, and if you're in a position where it makes sense for you in your life and what you can do. I know we've had, we have two little boys, but they, each birth was so different too. It was just so different. And we had, I think it was through Kaiser, there was a midwife who was, assigned to us. It was just part of the birthing plan, which is what I thought was for the second one, which was really great. And then I know my wife went to see a couple acupuncturists and she went to a couple Eastern feeling things, kind of metaphysical things. We needed our youngest to turn around. He was feet first. And so so we looked at a lot of stuff, and we knew, we're like, okay, we have time. But I always just think about, we still laugh about it to this day, not because it wasn't good, but it was just the thing, where you go and the options you have available to you are varied. But there was like a part of the process was putting incense on her toes and kind of like smoke,
the moxibustion,
smoking her toes,
flips them.
Yep. So she had her toes smoked, and that wasn't successful for us, but eventually he did flip. It took time, but there was a lot of stuff and a lot of those experiences. And again, I just think we live in such a time where there's so many options, and as long as everybody's healthy and consenting, then whatever feels right for you and your birthing journey, and I think that's part of those decisions you make throughout your life as parents, but it's your first time to start to make them as somebody, as a couple, but especially as a woman, about to become a mother. It's like you have a whole life of little decisions you use to protect these little people. And these are the first time you really make those decisions. And so to have support and to have that community around you to sort of, start to, I don't, you know what I mean? It's a life-changing experience for everyone, but to have that community there as you transform, or as you start to like go, okay, I'm making decisions here. I need that support network of what do we do? What's the best thinking around some of these things? Cause it's also new and it's also real and immediate too. It's very in the body, I guess, as you could say, because it's literally in your body, but that
no, totally
feel it.
It's a crazy thing.
Yeah, that's wild. Oh, that's so cool. I didn't know you were doing that kind of work.
Yeah, just a little bit, but it's cool. It's interesting.
That's great. And then where like do you feel? I mean, I guess I'm more curious. It's kind of on the visual side of stuff. When you started at art school, you were talking about sculpture and different work like that. What were some of your bigger influences, and sort of even coming into music and finding yourself in that kind of way going into art school? Where did you go to art school, and what were sort of the things you were working on and were influenced by?
Yeah. Well, I'm from just outside of Minneapolis, and there is a really amazing state-funded arts high school that's the just junior and senior year that you apply to, but it draws from the whole state of Minnesota, and it's like all art forms. It's visual, music, dance, writing, and I ended up going there as a high school student, and I was really deep in drawing and painting and like watercolors and everything, but also like before that, but then more intensely during that time, I started to go to punk shows and like DIY spaces in Minneapolis and seeing like a lot of experimental music, like all kinds of touring bands. I'm sure you guys played at places. There was a place, I was at in 2006.
There was some kind of church place, right? Yep. I remember that space. Yeah,
that was one of the first places I went to. And that scene was like really my social world. And I was very young and very shy, but I was just like really into going to shows every weekend as much as possible. And then in art school was like friends with a lot of people in the music department. So it all kind of was like together. And I took a year off between high school and college. And in that time, like joined a band as a vocalist that was like pretty like no wavy noise rock kind of band. And that kind of like lit the flame in me that I like was part of this world, and like that I liked performing, which I never knew that I did because I had been so shy. But then I ended up going to the art school in Minneapolis, MCAD. It was the only school I applied to because I was very like living in punk houses, and I was like really like feeling embedded in the world there. And I think I like before that didn't think I would go to that school because I thought, oh, I would like leave Minneapolis, but then that just like didn't seem interesting to me anymore because I was so like in it, and it felt really good to stay. And so when I started college, I was doing a lot of painting still. And then I kind of did get into more like conceptual art and writing, and I started writing a lot of poetry, and I did some like installations with like sound and like writing. And around mid-college, I started to work on my own music and had a 4-track and learned how to build contact mics, and like certain things were sort of like kind of coming together really disparately, but like they were like starting to overlap a little bit.
That's so cool. And then what was your sort of final, was it art school where you had a kind of final thesis or like a final sort of piece?
Kind of, yeah. I ended up like doing like a multidisciplinary program, and it was like mostly sculpture, but I just think it's so interesting to think about it now, because it's like I don't exactly know where my mindset was at 13 years ago, but I think there's definitely like themes that have like stayed with me, and like, and poetry. I think weirdly poetry has been like the thread and like kind of like the beginning and end of a lot of projects, and like ideating through poetry and like language has been important. So my final thesis, I don't know if I could even talk about it in any interesting way now, but a thing that was important in school was a collaboration I did with a friend that was like ongoing. And I feel like working with other people in that way, like kind of mind melding, is like so similar to like how I think of like working in bands and like working with other people now. And that collaboration was with my friend Christine, and then we would collaborate with our other friends, Aaron and Eric. And Aaron has helped me with a lot of music videos still, and like it's kind of like the conversation has like just continued with these people, and I find that to be like maybe more interesting than actually the work that I was making in school, because it doesn't,
those connections.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think it's
yeah.
I mean, I think we're all allowed to forgive our younger selves and
Oh,
the work we make, you know. I think, but it's so much, but it's a funny thing though, I guess, you know, in the punk world or in sort of the DIY world, where, you know, a lot of the stuff that artists make or that musicians make, you know, from 19 to 25 can sometimes be the thing they're remembered for, or can sometimes be the, you know, the
totally.
not, but more likely than not, it's those friendships that serve as those foundations that, you know, you go on to hopefully make more interesting work as you age. But it's not always something that's encouraged or that's always supported.
Yeah.
It's like, well, play the song you wrote 20 years ago. Like, I wrote other songs, but we liked those songs.
What about this new stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I guess that brings it's funny. I am constantly fascinated by this evolution, de-evolution, sort of, I don't know, bank robbery of the music industry. Obviously, you work with my musical partner Dean Spunt and with his label Post Present Medium, and he's, you know, about as straight an arrow as you could ever ask for in the music industry, but it's not even so much the labels as it is just the general landscape and vibe and feel of streaming, and the sort of the overall outlets and press music journalism in whatever form that lives in. Maybe like this is almost part of that landscape of that. How do you, I mean, I guess I'm just so curious from your perspective and kind of coming at music and releasing records from where you're at. Obviously, you know, we all know our own experiences, but how is it feeling, or how does this work, I guess? Tell me what is it like to be your age releasing music? Because I can only be my age, and I have no idea.
Well, I think there's like a couple edges to it. One is that I think because I've never gotten my lunch ticket from making music, I feel like free in a way from some of that pressure. And like, because it was never, I was extremely shielded from anything of that until even years after moving here, because I just didn't really understand like the possibility of how music industry worked, because I had come from such like grassroots DIY stuff and was always really involved with on the ground kind of just like noise musicians, experimental musicians. And then like things started to like show themselves to me in a way that like I wasn't trying to be sheltered, but it just was like the path I was on. And even like the way I toured was like really through friends, really DIY. Like I started to meet people that were like touring as a job later, and then started to understand all of that kind of world little by little. And so like on one side of it, it's like really, I can be really free. And also working with Dean, he is like, over the years, you know, I think he really does trust me and trust that I will do like what he also is aligned with in a way. So I'm able to make the music that I want to. And that's like kind of the goal for me. And I know that I will be like making songs forever, pretty much. I just don't think there's a choice in my future, whether or not I want to or not. But the other edge of it, as like someone who's in their mid 30s, who works, who also is like pretty ambitious with like the kind of music I want to make, and like, and wanting / needing to be doing it, is that like I would, you know, it would be great to have more time and more resources to be making this stuff. And like I said, the battle with time is what I'm always coming up against. I like feel like a grip on myself, and I feel like, oh, what if I had an agent? What if I had a manager? Like, would that grip loosen, and would I have more time to do these things? And I don't know if that would change anything for me. I'm like, sometimes I think like, what if I just tried that? And I still kind of would like to see what any of that would feel like, or what kind of opportunity that would allow for me. And like, then I could maybe work one less day a week and have that day be dedicated to music. But it's like, I mean, kind of like what I was saying before, it's like maybe all the inertia and all the like material of things I do like builds onto itself and makes me the kind of artist I am. And like, that's a good thing. But the burnout is real.
It's so true.
So.
Yeah, no, there's so much being asked. And I feel like that's a big thing that I've just observed with my experience over the last 20 years of making music. And it's the feeling of one thing, creating one thing to promote the next thing that promotes the next thing that promotes the next thing. And it's sort of like, well, what am I promoting? I'm making the social media posts to promote the video, and the videos to promote the record, and the records to promote the tour. You know, because at the end of the day, you know, I mean, the only money that really comes in the music economy is ticket sales. But then, you know, you get to a point with that sometimes too, you're just like, I want to perform live. You know what I mean? I'm looking to perform live, but if that's the only way to make money, then I need to make that a rarefied or a value proposition commercial endeavor. And I'm just like, oh, right. And we're back to that kind of thing of like, I'm promoting this, but then you realize that the house of cards of everything is the but then you're expected to promote your own show. You're like, but I don't live in your town. Like, well, then you got to make more videos, more social media posts, so that make more videos to make more things to promote the show. And then, well, it's a Wednesday. We thought more people would show up. And you're like, but I've spent 4 months doing everything I could to do this thing. You're just like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Or I got sick,
Yeah.
or someone else got sick, or the babysitter canceled,
Right.
or something happened. You're like,
Right.
oh, this is such a crushing, I guess, or maybe I'm just speaking from personal experience. It can be personally
it is
crushing. You know, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
just like
I
making
think
music.
it's like, yes, totally. And I think it's like, I just like try to come back to sort of like, not in a passive way, but like the path of least resistance, in that like do what's intuitive to you. And like if through all the steps, if you like what you're doing through all the steps, like things aren't going to feel as harsh coming down on you. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's an attitude I'm trying to like have with things. Like if people don't come to the show, it's like, well, I like loved practicing for this show and I liked performing and whatever, like go home. I don't care. But it's like those things have affected me differently at different times. And like being on a 30-day tour and like half of the shows you're in like a basement with a horrible PA and like barely anyone's there, and you've taken off work / quit your job to do this. It's like, what the hell have I done? But I guess I'm like, every time I'm trying to do things a little differently so that I don't feel that way or don't like feel like I've lost everything in the process of it. But it's hard.
Yeah, because I think there's a maturity to that as well too, where I think, you know, some of those things, you know, I think I spent most of my 20s doing that, like quit the job, go on the road, because it was all in service of some larger dream down the road. You know, this is considered the paying of the dues sort of portion of a career, and that was really fun and exciting. You know, I look back on it, not just in some kind of midlife crisis way, hopefully, but in a real like, wow, okay, those are those salad days. Those are those hard days. But there was a feeling of like invincibility that I think no matter what career or, you know, I imagine everybody feels this way. Somebody that's, you know, that was played a college athlete looks back on their time, you know, doing things, you know, and then later in life, I think it's just the nature of maturing through any fields of work you're in. But as artists, it's just sort of what we know and what we can experience. But it's changes. I don't know. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun to think about. That's fun. I guess I just
I think like the bad quote unquote tours have been like extremely inspirational in a way. Like there's a lot to take from them, and like it's I mean, I think it's all part of it. And like, you know, I will do those kinds of tours again. And like, I hope I can.
The tours,
it's like
the touring itself was never the problem.
Amazing.
I've always loved the being out on the road. There's something almost kind of like Peter Pan like, where it's like, oh, I'm back on Neverland. I'm back just living out of a van, or you know, and just eating at truck stops. There's this kind of like, I guess that's the way I think about it now, as a Neverland sort of thing. At the time, it was just like, this is just life. I just lived out of a backpack and had, you know, just had enough underwear to get through to the next week, and then just slept wherever you slept. And, you know, so now when the idea of doing that again, like, that actually sounds really fun. It sounds like a great experience. All the other stuff in life, you know, pressing pause and missing everybody else, like, that's the hardest part, I think, but it's only something I experience now as a father with responsibilities, that it'd be really hard. You know, I'd miss my kids. They'd miss me. It'd make my wife's life a lot harder, you know, if I was gone for weeks at a time. Like, I played to 5 people in a basement. It's awesome. I'm going to go sleep on this floor. See you later.
Yeah. She's like, I don't think so.
Yeah. Like, well, we could really use your help here. I got 2 kids here, and he's got a runny nose, and this one just threw up, and I got to make lunches and I got to go to work. So like, oh, okay. Well, maybe I shouldn't be romanticizing this floor, this basement floor that I'm going to sleep on so much right now and come home. But it's a different side of things. I think everything at the right time. There's a season for everything.
Yeah, I think it's like it's all the path to where you are now is like generally it's good.
Yeah, I'm sure it's
good that it all happened.
Yeah, I'm sure that last tour when we were all together, I think you just missed the Boston show, right? I think we picked you up right after Boston. That was where.
Yep.
So that was where that stands out as like in terms of tour horror stories. That was the newest low of where there was a dead like squirrel or rat or something in the walls. Of the night before we picked you up in upstate New York, we drove about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours outside of Boston. And we get to the hotel about 2 a.m. I don't forget. We must have told you the story. Or maybe
I don't
not,
even
or maybe,
remember this
maybe we weren't
part.
talking about it then. We were so traumatized. But so before we picked you up, we had just slept for we got there at like 2 a.m. and we check into the room and we're all like, does something smell really bad? This room smells bad. And so we walked, as soon as I smelled, I knew what it was. Cause, when I was a kid growing up, a rat had died in the crawl space at our house. And I know that, and I know that smell, it's very unique. It's pungent. And so I walked right back. I'm like, yeah, there's something dead in the walls, and she's like, no, it's probably something else. I'll come in with Febreze or with some kind of air freshener. And then she came in and she's like, oh yeah, that happens sometimes when it's starting to get cold. Some of the critters come in from the fields or the parking lot and crawl in, and then they don't always make it back out. So she said, but there was a wedding going on there. She was like, it's 2 a.m. Like, we don't have any other rooms. She's like, I can give you guys half off, but this is all we got. And so we all just were like, I guess this is where we're sleeping tonight. So it was a hotel. It was clean. It wasn't like a dirty hotel, but it was off the highway somewhere in Western Mass. And, yeah, it was tough. I think we all just slept in all of our clothes. I pulled the beanie over my face and just tried to breathe through the beanie for a few hours until we woke up.
Yep.
Came and picked you up. That was really fun though, because we played Troy, New York. Where did we pick you up?
Yes. You picked me up in Springfield, Massachusetts.
Okay.
I was doing some shows with Bill Nace and Samara Lebelsky, and I took an Amtrak from New Haven to Springfield, Massachusetts, and you guys picked me up from there. It was great.
That's amazing. And then did we do laundry that same day, or maybe we did laundry before we picked you up?
You might have done laundry before you picked me up.
I think we got there a little bit early because we had to get the hell out of that hotel room.
You did laundry, you picked me up, we went to Troy.
There we go.
Yeah, that was really fun. Yeah. So, but I did not know about that.
Oh, good.
Horror night.
Good. I'm glad I get to share that with you.
Because then the rest of the tour was easy.
I think that's the thing, right? Like everything, now we could survive anything. There was nothing going to be worse than that. That was definitely a new low, and especially experiencing that in my 40s. It was like, oh, that is tough. Of all the punk houses, of all the dirty places, that you sleep on with hard floors and loud parties going on, the dead rat in the wall has become my new just the tour story, the story that that was rough. Because the hardest part is you get used to it. And I remember that I like to hit up the bagel and orange juice station is, if these hotels have these things. So I woke up at 7 and I'm just like, I'm getting out here and grab some lobby food. And I came back in the room and that's when it really hit me out. And I woke everybody up we have to leave right now. This is not good. Cause you get used to it after a while.
And then you go back and you're like, no,
this cannot,
this is bad.
Guys, you don't know how bad this is. I just breathed fresh air, everybody out right now. So we were out early. Anyway,
sucks.
Well, but we had a great show that night, though. I remember that. What was?
We did.
What was it? It was
really
like a
fun.
Beer shop or something. It was something cool.
It was like a brewery venue. It was really nice.
Yeah,
it was very
that was a surprise.
Really nice people. I think it was a newish venue, but there was tons of people there.
Yeah,
and it was really sweet.
That was, I remember feeling, supported at that show. It's one of those ones you don't,
good.
You don't always know, but it was really fun doing
Troy.
Troy, New York. Fun. Well, Sophie, thank you so much. Everybody go out and buy the new record and come see, or will you be going to Troy, New York in support of this record?
No, but I'm maybe next year. Right now, just a few shows. LA, New York, Chicago, and Minneapolis this fall. I'll be posting things on Instagram.
Where can people follow you?
Instagram is good. Sophie _ psycho friend, SYKO friend.
Awesome.
You'll find me there.
All right. So go there for all the news and the updates, and follow you and post in the comment section. I heard you on Hyphenate. Hashtag
Yes,
heard you on Hyphenate.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Sophie. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.
Awesome. There she is. Sophie, thank you so much for coming on the pod. Everybody go to psychofriend.bandcamp.com, where you can find a link to buy the new record, Dizzy Magic. It's available on digital and limited edition 12-inch vinyl. So fun. So great talking to Sophie. Always stoked to catch up, have positive chats and real talk, about all the stuff we get to do in life, and making beautiful art in an age of, uncertainty and sometimes even heartbreaking depression and sadness and powerlessness and all the other fucked up things that we all get to experience on a day-to-day in this world. But nevertheless, keeping on and putting out what we can in the world, if possible, in hopes of just, aligning energies and pulling together as a community, and not letting that loneliness monster gobble us up in depression and strife, right? We could all do that together. I feel like that sometimes, especially as tough times hit you, you know what I mean? But I've found, for me, this podcast medium is beneficial and uplifting and all the kind of things, I think there's a community around these things, and I think it exists, in a new kind of way to bring people together. And if I can provide anything like that, I'm happy to do it. Something to get you through the day. And I hope everyone hangs in there. Come on back Monday. I'll be here talking with Aaron. I'm sure we'll say something about soccer season, dad's soccer club. It probably could be a whole other, maybe that'll be our Patreon level, just the dad's soccer club era. I mean, I keep thinking about something we talked about in the last halftime where, you really just get a window, and it's really something I'm sure we'll talk about more, but, I think has been resonating and bouncing around in my brain, is really just, it's a window of time. If you're of the age that I'm in, or coming into this age where you have little kids, slowly turning into bigger kids. And then you have aging parents, and there's a window of time where, here we are, and I never would have predicted it or really understood it or had empathy for anybody else who was going through it prior to myself being in this age. Where it's, it's the challenge of being the parent and also taking care of the parents in one way or another, or at least communicating with them, if not providing, day-to-day support for your parents as well as for your children, is hard. And then it's different, because those conditions of small children and aging parents is not a forever proposition. Both of those situations will change. Kids will grow up, parents will pass on, and then you will find yourself in a different seat in that arrangement of the three things. You know what I mean? You go from parents, or go from children to being a parent, to then being the elderly parent with your children taking care of you, and getting into these 40s and 50s is something, that I think you're right there in the middle. You really understand that the middle part of middle-aged, it's capital M on that middle-aged part of it all. And if you're going through all that stuff, let me know. Share this with your friends. Reach out. Hit me up. You can find us on the Instagrams at Randy S. Randall and hyphenate halftime at gmail.com. But that's what we're going through. That's what I'm going through here. And I hope everyone, can just appreciate, slow down, take that big, deep breath, and just appreciate where we're at any given time is temporary. Everything's temporary. And in some ways, just floating around on this big rock. So take care of yourself, give yourself a hug, give your loved ones a hug, and just know whatever it is, it's not forever. Nothing's forever. So hang in there, be well, and I'll see you on Monday. Bye.
I'm fighting with time constantly and trying to like expand. But it's like I don't know yet how to do that, but I'm working on it.